Being the appointed hour of 5:30, I call to order the New Bern Historic Preservation Commission. I'm Commissioner Cox and Vice Chairman of the Commission, and our Chairman is out of town today, so I have the wonderful task of sitting here in this position. Can we please have a roll call of the Commissioners?
Yes, ma'am. David Griffith. Ruth Cox.
Present?
Peggy Broadway. Here. James Woods. Ellen Sheridan. Present. George Brake.
Here.
Jim Bisbee.
Here.
Joe Klotz.
Here.
Christian Evans.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Regarding the reading of the minutes, can there be a call for a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Can we call for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Can we have a call for any substantive or factual corrections to the minutes? Is there anything that needs to be changed? Hearing none, can we have an approval of the minutes?
Move to approve. Second.
Can we call for a vote? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? None. The Historic Preservation Commission is a public commission appointed by the City of New Bern's Board of Aldermen. It is responsible for preserving and safeguarding New Bern's locally designated historical districts, downtown and Riverside, and based on the U.S. Department of Interior standards, state statutes, city ordinances, and New Bern's historic guidelines. Two of the major tasks of the HPC include approving applications for a certificate of appropriateness and preventing demolition of historic structures due to neglect. The HPC holds a quasi-judicial hearing on an application for a certificate of appropriateness. The Commission hears sworn testimony and evidence provided by the applicant, by parties who receive notice of the hearing, and by others who can justify that they have relevant evidence and are directly affected by the application. The Commission cannot consider comments based on personal likes or dislikes, hearsay, or personal opinion that cannot be directly related to specific historic guidelines. Likewise, commissioners shall refrain from stating personal opinion, personal likes or dislikes, or hearsay during a hearing. A commission's decision on an application is based solely on testimony and evidence presented at a hearing that directly relates to the historic guidelines. Ms. Morgan, can you swear in any presenters that we might have today?
Yes, be happy to. Okay. If you're going to be speaking, commenting, presenting, please come forward. Repeat all of And since you all are captive audience, if you want copies of providing testimony at a quasi-judicial hearing, I'm going to be sending to you. And about one more. Okay. Right hands up, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give this evening is true to the best of your knowledge? I do. Thank you, everyone. Please have a seat. And if you miss signing in, please do so. It's over there.
Here is a summary of how we generally will conduct a hearing on a COA application. The commissioner provides an overview of the application. The applicant or representative presents the application. Proponents and opponents who receive notice of the hearing can present evidence. Rebuttal is allowed by the applicant and by proponents and opponents who received notice. Others can justify that they have relevant information and will be directly affected, can present evidence. The HPC administrator presents the staff's findings and recommendations. The applicant or the representative has an opportunity to make final comments on their application. Commissioners discuss the evidence and may ask for clarification from the applicant or presenters. The chairman calls for a motion to approve or deny the application with stated findings of facts. The motion is discussed by the commission, and the chairman calls for a vote on the motion by the commission. A COA can be approved, approved with conditions, or denied. So at this point, we will go to the first application that is on our list for today, which is 516 East Front Street.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Vice Chairman, staff recommends the commission continue the public hearing for 516 East Front Street until the April 17th, 2019 regular meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission, whereas staff has not yet received technical guidance from the State Historic Preservation Office regarding the elevation of a contributing structure. And I just need a motion to approve that request.
Move to approve continuation.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is the applicant for that here? Okay, would you like to speak to what Morgan has said, sir? Could you come to the microphone so we can hear?
We take no exception.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so you will be getting with Morgan once you get this information?
I expect they'll give me a response any day now.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. So the next item on our list is 818 East Front Street. We can have an overview of that.
Yes, ma'am. This is the request to include the installation of a wooden marina. We'll have lighting fixtures, a gravel parking lot that will have metal edging, concrete wheel stops. This is located in the primary ABC. This is Sarah's project. As I noted earlier, our overhead's not functional tonight, so if there's something additional to present, I'm going to have to pass it around to you all. But I do have the electronic copy, so you can pull that up or you got it.
Okay. Are there any conflicts of interest related to this COA among the commissioners?
I'm going to recuse myself. I am the Vice President of the Queens Point Homeowners Association,
Okay.
which is located directly next door to this project.
Okay.
And I need a motion to accept and recusal request, please.
So do we have a motion to accept that?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. So if you could take a seat down in the audience. Do any members of the commission have any issues on the application's completeness? Having heard none, we will proceed. So if the applicant would like to proceed with your application, having been sworn in.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Afterback with Go Architectural Design. This is, you saw this project a couple of weeks ago and a couple of years ago, and we are bringing it back through the process. So this area right here is River Station, which is an existing extension of East Front Street with some alleyways along both sides of it. And what we are proposing is a marina in this area. Oh, is it not? Okay, sorry. A marina off this area, as you can see, with parking over here towards the rear. And this project has been through the departmental review process, and we will next go through Board of Adjustment after that. So just to take you through the project. This is the existing site, and I have some other, I went down and took a video today, which I can't show you because your overhead is not working, but I'm sure you all are very familiar with this area and this project. This is the Queens Point Marina pre-hurricane. The gazebo is no longer there, but the existing wood structure is still there. This is a view of that marina from our project. This is an extension of East Front Street along here. There's one existing residence out at River Station right now, and then this is the proposed parking area with my car parked there. The dock itself will be made of an ipe wood, which is a really beautiful wood. This is the construction that is proposed, and there are details of that on the last page of the application, so that it's got an end cap board with the boards in the middle, not quite like the Queens Point Marina. You can kind of see it's got a little toe edge right there. To me, this is really just a beautiful wood. It's a natural hardwood that you stain and is rot resistant. So it's not a preservative treated wood. It's an ipe hardwood. This is the proposed lighting on the marina. And then just a quick overview of kind of what the waterfront looks like downtown. So this is Queens Point Marina as it exists now. And then all up along East Front Street, there are docks and boat lifts that go into the Neuse. And then, of course, the Doubletree, and then the Galley Store Marina, which has is a 20-boat slip marina with more room around Persimmons for at least another 10 boats at least. And then these are images of those existing marinas. This is the Doubletree and the Galley Marina. So very similar construction. Oh, you go back. And then these are just photos of several docks up off of East Front Street, just to show the similarity. And then the construction of the dock itself as we're proposing it. And then this is, oh, you did put these in here. Okay, so this is some images of the area. This is actually pre-hurricane, so that you can kind of see there's a riprap at the edge right now. And so we are proposing to go from this fence line and start the marina down there. Now, this is really interesting. This is, actually, I'm not entirely sure what year it was, but it was prior to the way the dock is, the way the waterfront is now. So before this group bought the property, this is what it looked like in 2007, 2000? And before. So, you know, 20 years ago now. But so there was an existing dock marina on that location, and they pulled piles and piles and piles out of the river and actually milled a lot of it down for floorboards. So all this right here was all existing out there, which is a much larger, extensive dock work than what we are proposing. So you can just kind of see the field of it there. And then that's the Queens Point Marina right there. And then this is all the piles that, you know, were of a previous marina in that same location. So just to give you a little history of what used to be there. Oh. And then just some more images of that waterfront right there. So as far as what we have outlined in our application, the materials of the parking area would be a gravel with a metal edge, wheel stop, and a wheel stop in that location, and the ipe wood, the lighting, and that's pretty much everything that's going into that application. So that's.
Is there a fueling station or no?
So No, there's not. And, that part of the use of it, it's a private marina, no liveaboards, no fuel, no pump out, no working on boats. It's purely for bring your boat, leave it here, come use it, when you want. And, we provided the amount of parking that is required by the land use ordinance, and that we've been through departmental review, and they have reviewed that and approved that. So we have the correct number of parking spots that are needed for what we're proposing.
And please tell me again about how much parking and how many slips are going to be there?
There are proposed 40 slips, and CAMA has approved more than that, but this is what we are proposing. And then we have 10 parking spaces.
Thank you.
There's a little park that sits there, and that's between the two.
Yeah, so let me go back to that front first map. Oh. So when Allison Platt did the new proposed layout for this particular area, she did an entire master plan for this area. It was specifically in mind that there be access to the waterfront, and that was something that's in the plan that the city has, that she recommended, because between Council Bluff and Queens Point, there's no access to the river from the public. So at this particular point, the developer got with the city and agreed to give this buffer. This buffer still belongs to this development, but the sidewalk along here is there's an easement for public access, and so that is specifically available to the public and is meant to be as a nicey nice. This is them playing nice with the city. We want to give the public access to the water where it could have been they come in and not allow that. But to me, that is what Allison proposed for that entire area and the property above that that will hopefully be developed soon. So, that idea that the public has access to this area is very important to this project and is, meant to be that way from the start.
By access to the river, do you mean those that have a boat slip have access to the river?
No, ma'am. The sidewalk is public access so that you can actually walk along the river and see the river. And so that you have access to that river view where if you walk along the sidewalk in front of Queens Point, you don't have access to that river view.
How do you have a river view if you have 48 slips?
There's lots of water that you can see from this sidewalk. So when you walk down by the Doubletree and you see the marina and you see the river at the same time.
So basically you have how wide is the sidewalk? 40 inches, you have a 40
That's I think it's a 5 or 6 foot sidewalk right there. I see lots of people walking their dogs up that area all the time. It's used a lot right now.
Will there be overnight stays on the boat?
No, ma'am.
Okay, anything else you want to present at this point in time?
I think we're good. No.
Okay. So we will now have the opportunity to hear from others. And again, please let me remind you from what was presented before, that if you want to comment on this COA, it needs to be directly to what the COA is presenting, okay? And if there are any guidelines there are guidelines that go with this, if you want to speak to the guidelines, then we would be happy to hear that. So if you would like to speak, come forth and please give your name and address. And we will first hear testimony from notified proponents of this endeavor. Seeing none, we will now go to... Okay. So if you will come to the stand and give your name and your address.
My name is Hubie Tolson. I'm the developer, and my address is 520 East Front Street. I'm a third-generation New Bern resident. My children are fourth, and I live in the heart of downtown in a home that's approximately 135 years old, which we restored, which is the second home that we've restored in the historic district of New Bern. New Bern is very dear to us, and doing the right thing is very important to us. We probably could have made a lot more money building a development of condominiums or clustered homes than we will by making single-family homes in that development that mimic Front Street as the old Front Street as it is now. And it's designed to look just like that. And we retain architectural control and will ensure that it does look just like that as the development occurs. In fact, my wife and I have preserved several lots for ourselves for when our elevator days come and we need to move out of our house with steps into a home with an elevator because we wish to live there. The view of the water that Ms. Broadway brought up, the water is comprised of more than just open river. It's boats, it's working vessels, it's commercial activities. The history of New Bern is of a working waterfront, and one in which there were docks and wharves, and not just marinas, but warehouses and things that actually did block the view. But the marina that we'll build will be a quiet marina of an appropriate view over our water that reflects the use of that river that has existed for hundreds of years. And the construction will be of post and beam, just like in the day, and it will be done tastefully. Light sources will not be visible to the eye. The only lighting that will be seen is light that shines on the dock surface. But the irritant of a bulb in your eye is something we're very concerned with and that we'll not allow. We're doing something no different, but hopefully better than has been done on this waterfront for centuries. And we'd very much appreciate your approval for this marina so that people who don't currently have access to the water, don't have homes on the water with docks and piers, could have a place to put a small boat and enjoy the river just as the people who are fortunate enough to have homes on the river do.
Thank you, Mr. Tolson. Is there anyone else who is a notified proponent that would like to speak at this time? Seeing none, we will go to those who have been notified who are opponents of this project. Seeing none, then, would the applicant like to give any other information at this time? We only have had one proponent speak for this. Is there anything else you would like to say, sir? No. Okay.
Excuse me, I have an opponent, and I'm not sure my question is.
Can you come to the mic, please?
So I'd like to ask it, and if it's not appropriate, fine.
Okay. So if you could give your name and where you live, sir?
Yes, I'm Tom Dunton. I live at 758 East Front Street. How many slips we're supposed to, are contained here?
40.
40? And will there be any supervision of these slips so that we know that no one's spending the night? Or that they're not pumping into the river or anything like that? I don't know if this is the appropriate forum for a question like that. If you have 40 boats there, 40 slips, and no supervision, mischief could occur.
Well, I am not sure that we have the answer to that either. Our part on this is to look at how the docks are built, okay, and that they go with the guidelines. So if these are questions that you have, I would think that the person who owns the property and is having these docks built, that would be the person that you would need to address those questions to. These are not concerns of our commission.
All right, thank you.
But
And
you
I don't
could
know if
s-
someone left these up here, or?
Oh, they're there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I believe he's right here tonight, so you could probably get your answer. So if you just hold on a second, okay? So let me just go through my process. You're going to get a chance to come back up. So are there comments from anyone with relevant evidence and has standing for this project? Seeing none, would the presenter of this project like to be able to answer this gentleman's questions?
I'm not building a marina in which we have intention of having liveaboards, but I'm not willing to say that a person who owns a boat there will not spend a night on it. And I want the record to reflect that. Second, this will be built to green marina standards, and there will be a pump-out station provided, and open holes, which is dumping sewage over water, will not be allowed and will be strictly enforced. And there will be supervision of the marina.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for that information. So if the HPC administrator will provide staff findings and recommendations.
Yes. Quick question, Madam Vice Chair. Before we jump to staff findings, is there any more public comment that you wish to solicit before we jump to that? Nope.
Not at this time. Opponents and proponents have been given that opportunity, and anybody else who has relevant evidence has been given the opportunity, and no one has raised their hand to speak. Is that correct? No one has raised their hand? Okay, so we will move on then to the staff findings and recommendations.
Yes, ma'am. Staff submits the following historic district guidelines as appropriate to this application. Waterfront modifications, 291, 294, parking, 274, 275, statements of reason based on the information contained in the application and staff's judgment are: the proposed project is located within the primary ABC. The proposed materials and design are appropriate. The proposed project is not incongruous with the guidelines. Staff recommends the Commission approve the application for major exterior alterations at this time, citing the aforementioned guidelines with the one condition that the parking lot be screened with hedgerows on all sides with a vertical dimension of 4 feet per guideline 275.
Thank you. Do we have any testimony from any state, city, or government official that would like to give evidence at this time? Seeing none, we will have the applicant come back forward to see if there are any final comments that you would like to make at this time.
I just want to say that this project will go on to Board of Adjustment, so any of those comments about use will be addressed at that time.
Okay? While you're there, would you like to address the recommendations about the parking lot and the edging and the growth around the parking lot?
There's no problem with that whatsoever. We can screen that. Part of it's already screened, but
Correct.
maybe not to 4 feet, but we can change that up.
Correct. I noticed that there was screening provided if you're looking at it on the western side, but if you could provide some on the southern side to screen from pedestrian view, that's sufficient for staff and it meets the guidelines.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Hedgerows would be appropriate, no more than 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us now have a discussion of the applications by the members of the commission. It is open now for discussion, questions that you'd like to ask at this point in time. Seek clarifications for anything.
My only concern, and I don't think that we need, I think we've been told we don't adjust it here, is the overnight stays. That is a concern to the neighboring. This is a marina that's being built in a residential area. And for that, I am concerned about an overnight stay, possible partying, radios, drinking, whatever. I'm a sailor, so I know what I'm talking about.
And I hear your concern, and that is not something that is in our purview. So again, I would say you would need to talk with someone else that has more, I guess, control or management of that area. And we've been told twice by Mr. Tolson that there will be supervision of the area. Am I correct in saying that? You've told us twice. In the beginning, and then again, you've told us that there will be supervision there. Okay? So there are no other questions by the commissioners. Okay? So I call for a motion to approve or deny this COA. Do I have a motion to approve the COA?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
Okay, I move that we find the application for a certificate of appropriateness for 818 East Front Street to be not incongruous with New Bern's Code of Ordinance, sections 15411 through 15429, and New Bern's Historic District Guidelines based on the following specific guidelines and findings of fact. The applicable guidelines: waterfront modifications 2.9.1 and 2.9.4, parking 2.7.4 and 2.7.5. Findings of fact: the application is appropriate to these guidelines, and we would add the condition that some form of screening not to exceed 4 feet to screen the parking lot, either with hedgerows or some similar kind of screening, be added.
Second.
Okay, so we have a second to the motion. And do any commissioners have any other questions at this time? Is everyone clear that they understand what the motion is? Everyone clear on the motion? Okay, so if we can have a vote for the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Opposed?
That's one.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Got it. So the motion passes at this time. So so let me call for a motion to issue a COA.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So call for the vote. All those in approval, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
The COA passes, and a COA can be presented to these individuals.
Thank you very much.
You're certainly welcome. The next item on the agenda is 407 Hancock Street.
Yes, ma'am. Give everybody just a second.
Okay, we'll let everybody's leaving right now. We'll let them leave.
We'll welcome Ellen back to the fold. Okay, 407 Hancock Street. This is a request to include the removal of screening and replacement of these screens with wooden casement windows and wooden lap siding. And I'm going to turn this one over to Sarah, since she is the representative for the applicant again. And did you get it figured out, Sarah?
Yeah, I think so.
Think so? It's
Yeah.
pretty simple.
Yeah,
Let me know if you need some help. It's kind of squirrely.
I think it's good. This project is a rear porch. This portion of the porch, let's say 7 years ago, was existing, and then we added this piece. And when we added it, here we go. Oops.
Excuse me, Commissioners. I do need a motion to welcome Ellen back into the fold, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Sorry.
So do we have a motion to do so?
So move.
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I appreciate the vote of confidence.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you, Sarah.
That's okay. So this is the porch as it exists now. This portion was added, and then the whole thing was screened. And so what we're proposing to do is take out the screening, build a small wall that mimics what's here now, and insert fixed panes with transoms above. Well, fixed and casement windows with transoms above. And so this is the proposed structure. So what we're doing is we're leaving in the prior renovation, we had these columns milled and put in place, and so now we're just building this small area. The siding will match the existing house, and then these pieces will be casement windows and transoms. That's it.
That's all at this time? Okay, thank you very much. Before we move to hear from the public, are there any conflicts of interest regarding this project? Are there any issues regarding the completeness of the application of this project from the commissioners? Hearing none to either, let me ask if there is any testimony from anyone who is a notified proponent of this project. Seeing none, is there any testimony from anybody who is a notified opponent of this project? Seeing none, is there anybody who would like to give relevant evidence or have standing for this project that would like to present any information? Seeing none, let's have the HPC administrator provide staffing findings and recommendations.
Staff submits the following historic district guidelines as appropriate to this application. Windows, doors, and openings, 431, 432. Statements of reason based on the information contained in the application in staff's judgment are: the proposed project is located within the tertiary ABC. The proposed materials are appropriate. The proposed project is not incongruous with the guidelines. Staff recommends the commission approve the application for major exterior alterations at this time, citing the aforementioned guidelines.
Is there any evidence or testimony that would like to be given by any state, city, or official governmental body? Seeing none, does the applicant have any final comments you'd like to present to us?
No.
Hearing none, let us have a discussion by the commission of any questions that you might have at this time.
The only question I would have would be for Sarah. You said that you had participated in the construction of the screened-in porch. How long ago was that?
It's about 7-8 years ago,
Okay.
something like that.
Thank you.
I'm going to call for a motion to either approve or deny the COA. So can we have a motion to approve the COA?
I move we find the application for 407 Hancock Street for certificate of appropriateness is not incongruous with New Bern's Code of Ordinance, sections 15-411 to 15-429, New Bern Historic District's guidelines based on the following specific guidelines and findings of fact. Guidelines being windows, doors, and openings, 4.3.1, 4.3.2. Statements of reason, proposed projects located in the tertiary ABC, proposed materials appropriate, proposed projects not incongruous with the guidelines.
We have a motion for approval. Is there a second? There is a second. Is there any further discussion of the motion? Hearing none, do all members of the commission understand the motion? Let us call for a vote for the motion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion has been passed. Is there a motion to issue a COA?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? There are none, so the COA will be given to you. You're certainly welcome. Okay? The next item on the agenda is 524 East Front Street.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you could give us an overview.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. This is a request to include the addition of masonry units and painted metal fencing, and the addition of a masonry garden wall with lattice detailing in the tertiary ABC. We are removing a partial wooden picket fence and replacing with a masonry garden wall as well in the tertiary ABC. And this is another one of Sarah's projects, so I'm going to let her have it.
This one you've seen a couple of times at design review and here. And so John Wood has determined that this wall was built within the period of significance of the district and therefore is historically significant. This one is not at all. It's just recently built. And so what we're proposing to do here is take off the pickets and construct it similarly to what we're proposing for the other side, which is down here. So this is the existing house along East Front Street, and let me zoom in a little bit. And the existing masonry wall runs to the back side of the existing garage. And so what we're proposing to do is nothing up until the end of the house, and where the house ends, and here we go. So nothing up to the end of the house. Where the masonry wall ends back here, we're proposing metal fencing on top of it with brick piers to match. There are existing piers in this fence line, and they're shown here. So what we're proposing to do is just build on top of those. So that way the historic fabric itself wouldn't be touched. We didn't feel that it was strong enough to take a full masonry wall on top of it. That's why we're proposing just the metal infill. And then on the rear portion of it, do a step down open weave brick wall down to the water, actually on both sides. Oops. So that it will match. So this is the portion where the pickets are, and then this portion over here is the open weave brick masonry wall. So it kind of lines up here, and so we'll have two pieces similar down in this area. And we're not proposing anything at this time with the front column, which we have discussed before.
Okay. Are there any conflicts of interest for this project on the board? Are there any issues on the completeness of the application? Hearing none, we will then go to hearing testimony from any notified proponents of this project. Again, sir, if you would give your name and address.
My name is Hubie Tolson, 520 East Front Street, New Bern.
Thank you.
We're the immediately adjacent neighbor on the bottom side, 520 East Front Street. And I'm here to speak in favor of the request and to inform this board that we feel that it's in keeping with the elements that are there and were there, and we'd like to see the motion approved.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tolson. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this? Seeing none, we will ask for testimony from those who are notified who is an opponent to this project. Seeing none, then we will ask, is there anyone who has any relevant evidence and has standing to speak to this project? Seeing none, we will ask for the HPC commissioners to provide staff findings and recommendations.
Staff submits the following historic district guidelines as appropriate to this application. Fences and garden walls, 251, 252, 253. Statements of reason based on the information contained in the application and staff's judgment are: the proposed project is located within the tertiary area of visual concern. The proposed materials and design are appropriate. The proposed project is not incongruous with the guidelines. Staff recommends the commission approve the application for major exterior alterations at this time, citing the aforementioned guidelines.
Thank you. Is there any testimony from any city, state, or government body that would like to be made at this time? Seeing none, are there any final comments that the applicant would like to make? Having none, commissioners, this project is open for discussion by our membership. What questions or clarification might you need at this time?
The only question I had was about the joint ownership, and Mr. Tolson cleared that up, so no problem.
Sarah, what's the total height where the metal is going to be on top of the existing wall?
For the metal?
Yeah, or the total height of what that wall would be.
It's 6 foot, right along, anywhere behind the house, that metal would be up to 6 foot. I think the very top of the pier I've got at 6 foot, so the actual, the very top of that pier is 6 foot, so the metal fence is a little smidge below that.
And the brickwork that you'll be using for the wall, it is still in keeping with the original.
So what we're
Close to-
what we're proposing is a sand face finish brick, so it'll match in with the house and not be like a wire cut, red brick. It'll have some variation to it. Okay.
Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, so I did ask for a motion regarding this COA. Is there a motion to approve or deny the COA? Is there a motion to approve it?
Madam Chairman, I move that the application for 524 East Front Street for certificate of approval for 524 East Front Street to be not incongruous with New Bern's Code of Ordinance, Section 15-411 to 15-429, and New Bern's Historic District guidelines based on the following specific guidelines and findings of fact. Applicable guidelines: fences and garden walls, 2.5.1, 2.5.2, and 2.5.3. Findings of fact: the proposed project is located in the tertiary AVC. The proposed materials are appropriate. The proposed project is not incongruous with the guidelines.
Second.
Right? You second the motion, okay? Are all members clear what the motion contains? Are there any questions? Having none, I ask for a vote. All of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed, nay. There are no nays. So I ask for a motion to approve the COA.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? There are none, so the COA has been approved. Okay? So the next item for us to review is 624 East Front Street.
Yes, ma'am. This is a request to include the installation of an ornamental metal fence at the primary, secondary, and tertiary areas of visual concern, and a stone outdoor fireplace in the tertiary area of visual concern. And Mr. Mills is here, right up the road. I'll turn it over to him. I'll get your application.
We're proposing to reconstruct the fence from post-hurricane damage. We had a picket fence along the primary and secondary part of that. We want to change it to an iron fence with 4-foot pickets, or 4-foot, whatever you call them, on an iron fence. It'll go in the primary across the front. Down the side it's on the corner of King Street, so it'd be exposed on both sides. And then along the driveway. That's a similar type of fence, and the corner posts will be all metal like that, 4 inches square. The only difference will be with the ball on top. And then the fireplace will be in the backyard, the tertiary AVC. There's a compost pit there now made out of brick that we'll be taking down and constructing something very similar to that out of rock. The fence will follow the footsteps or the same path as the prior fence.
Any other information?
I think that's about it.
Does anyone have a conflict of interest with this project? Does anybody have any issue with the completeness of the application? Is there any testimony that would like to be given for anybody who's a notified proponent of this project? Seeing none, is there anybody who would like to give testimony being a notified opponent of this project? Seeing none, Is there anyone who has relevant evidence and has standing that would like to give information? Seeing none, if the HPC administrator would provide staff findings and recommendations.
Yes, ma'am. Staff submits the following historic district guidelines as appropriate to this application. Fences and garden walls, 251, 252, accessory structures, 261, 263. Statements of reason based on the information contained in the application and staff's judgment are: the proposed project is located within the primary, secondary, and tertiary areas of visual concern. The proposed materials and the design are appropriate. The proposed project is not incongruous with the guidelines. Staff recommends the commission approve the application for major exterior alterations at this time, citing the aforementioned guidelines.
Is there anyone who would like to give testimony from any state, city, or government body? Seeing none, the floor is now open for commissioners for any questions.
Wayne, how tall is it going to be?
The
The
fence,
chimney part?
I think it's about 6 or 7 feet. It's not very tall.
And the brickwork that is there now on their compost, is that, when you go to build your fireplace, are you going to be using those bricks, or are you going to be bringing in something comparable to what?
Well, what I was planning on doing was using a gray stone that matches the patio that's there now, the field stone that's in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of behind the garage and in the like I said, in the tertiary AC. So it's kind of tucked in back there, and it would match the patio.
Okay. I was trying to visualize your backyard, and that's what I was kind of thinking about where the fireplace is going to be. But it's going to be over there by the garage.
Yeah, it'll be, that brick structure is the compost pile there now.
Thank you.
Is this something that would be seen from the street view?
It wouldn't be seen from the front street, but it could be seen from King Street.
From King Street.
Between Front and Edgerton.
My other question is, how tall is the fence going to be in front?
4 feet.
And it's going to be 6 foot at some point?
No, I was talking about the height of the chimney.
I know, but I'm asking that question. Is it going to? No.
It's the same all the way around.
It's the same all the way around.
Yes.
Okay.
We will be keeping, if you'll recall, the picket fence between the two houses.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And all of the fencing is on my property.
So do we have a motion to approve this COA?
I move that we find the application for a certificate of appropriateness for 624 East Front Street to be not incongruous with New Bern's Code of Ordinance, sections 15411 through 15429, and New Bern's Historic District guidelines based on the following specific guidelines and findings of fact. The applicable guidelines, we have fences and garden walls 2.5.1, 2.5.2, accessory structures 2.6.1, 2.6.3. Findings of fact, excuse me, the proposed application is consistent with the guidelines, the accessory structures and the tertiary AVC. I think that's it.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Do all members understand what is being proposed in this COA? Are there any questions at this time? Is there a vote then for us to approve this COA?
So move.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Nay? We have no nays. So the motion is passed. Do we have a motion to issue a COA?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. There are no nays. So the COA has been approved. You certainly will. The next item is 218 Change Street.
Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself.
Okay? We have a recusal.
And I also need to recuse Ellen as well.
Because I have to present.
Oh, you have to present. Okay, so we have 2 members.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need a motion to recuse both Commissioner Broadway and Commissioner Sheridan from the hearing, please.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, all right. I'm going to turn this one over to Ms. Sheridan, and I've got the application, so I'm going to go pull this up while you chat. Okay.
Thank you. Bring it way down for a short person. So my name's Ellen Sheridan. I live at 744 East Front Street, and Mr. Udy, who was going to present this, had a family emergency, so I am standing in. And this application is dealing with the removal of what turned out to be an inappropriate vinyl window, and instead putting in a back door, which you will see, and it is in the tertiary area all the way in the back of the house, but Ms. McDonough will have it for a little place to sit outside and exit from the house. And actually, it is my belief that this door is also needed from a fire and rescue perspective, because the side door from her house is actually only a 2.0 door. And so that's not sufficient for anything that would need handicapped accessibility. And anywhere that fire and rescue needed to come in, the front door actually is up several stairs, and Change Street is, generally speaking, pretty full of cars and vehicles. So this would give someone accessibility from the driveway, actually near Miss Broadway's house, to come out. And this exit could be ramped as well, and the other exits could not, if need be. So the door that is going in will be a wooden door and will not be visible from anywhere unless someone is really going to look rather hard for it, because there is a hedge on either side of that backyard. And then it will be a wooden door and a small landing deck arrangement that might be about 6 by 8 at most, that will be wood and will be in keeping with her front porch. And I believe there is a drawing of
Yes, there is.
that deck for you to see.
There is. I'm just flipping through.
Okay. And this is a very simple house. It was a Brabham rental house.
Is that the one you're looking for, Ellen? You're looking for the sketch?
Yes, ma'am, it is. So it's a very simple structure, which is in keeping with the house.
It was the Caleb Bradham rental house.
Any other things you would like to present to us at this time?
That is all, unless there are questions. When the window was removed, and the door will have the same width as the window that was removed, it was really quite surprising to find a vinyl window, so that got taken out.
Well, that's good for us.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. So are there any conflicts of interest on the board that's remaining here?
I'm so sorry. I feel like I've been very busy this evening.
Is there any concern about the completeness of the application? Okay, I call now for any testimony from those who are notified proponents of this item. Seeing none, is there any testimony from any notified opponents of this project? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to give any testimony with relevant evidence and has standing? Seeing none, we would have information from the HPC administrator from the staff findings and recommendations.
Yes, ma'am. Staff submits the following historic district guidelines as appropriate to this application. Windows, doors, and openings, 431, 432. Decks and patios, 461, 462, 463. Statements of reason based on the information contained in the application in staff's judgment are: the proposed project is located in the tertiary area of visual concern. The proposed materials are appropriate. The proposed project is not incongruous with the guidelines. Staff recommends the commission approve the application for major exterior alterations at this time, citing the aforementioned guidelines.
Is there any testimony from any state, city, or government body? Seeing none, are there any final comments that you would like to make regarding your project?
We are very anxious to let this lady get back in her house because she hasn't been there since the hurricane. And this house has been 100% rebuilt since the hurricane. It's suffered major, major damage.
Okay, okay, thank you.
She's lived there 50
Commissioners,
years.
any discussions that you have at this time? Any questions?
Did we have an image of the door that's proposed?
Yes, sir. I can
Yes.
show it again if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Yes. It's a wooden single light.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw it. Now it registers. Thank you.
Any other questions? Can I have a call for a motion regarding the COA?
I move.
Okay.
I move that we find this application for a certificate of appropriateness for the home of 218 Chain Street to be not incongruent, and that with the New Bern's Code of Ordinance, Section 15-411 to 429, and New Bern's Historic District guidelines, based on the following specification guidelines and finding of fact, that the guidelines with the windows and doors and openings are 431, 432, decks and patios 461, 462, and 463, and with the proposed object to be located in the tertiary ABC, the proposed materials are appropriate, and the proposed project is not incongruous with the guidelines.
So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Are all members understanding what the motion is for? So let us have a vote. All those who want to approve this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those who are against the motion, say nay. There are none. So the motion has been approved. Can I have a motion to issue the COA?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Can we have a vote? All those in favor,
Aye.
say aye. All those against it, say nay. There are no nays, so the COA will be approved.
Thank you all so much.
All right? So if we can let our two commissioners join us back.
I just need a
Do we
motion.
do we have a motion to allow our two commissioners to rejoin? So moved. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those against, there are no nays.
All right. Moving on to our last application of the evening.
Yes.
Yes. Doing well. We have 419 Metcalf Street. This is a request to include the demolition of a non-contributing structure and the installation of an accessory structure in its place in the tertiary ABC. Mr. McGrath is here tonight. He's the property owner. You can either stand there if you prefer, or you can stand up there. Choice is yours. I've got you. I've got you.
Okay, are there any conflicts of interest regarding this project? Having seen none, are there any concerns about the completeness of the application from the commissioners? Seeing none. So, sir, if you could present your application to us.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I am proposing to put a shed in replacement of the shed that's there. The shed that's there is 44 years old. There's a drawing clearly. The offset from the adjoining property is about 6 feet at the one point. The property line is not straight according to the drawing, so in order to place it straight, it runs from 6 to 8 feet. The structure that's there, I just wish to replace it with a similar structure that is slightly larger and of similar construction. It will look, the boards on the side of the shed will run similar to the ones on our house. They'll be sideways, not vertical. They'll be horizontal. And essentially, about the same height. So we're not looking to change the way things look. If you look at the, there's the picture of it. There we go. So you can see the structure that's there right now doesn't have any windows in it, and it has a very small door. It's been there for 44 years, and it really kind of looks like it. So all I'm asking to do is to tear down the old structure and put a new one up. The street view won't change. If Morgan, there's a picture in there what the street view looks like. Oh no, I'm proposing to just use this kit from the Builder's Discount Center. Yeah, so if you look.
It's hiding somewhere.
Yeah, you can see kind of the blue right there. That's where the shed is right now. That's essentially what the view is going to be after I rebuild the new one. So this, I'm not sure what else to do. Anybody have any questions?
We may have some questions when we get to our question period.
Okay.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience who is a notified proponent of this project who would like to give testimony? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who is a notified opponent of this project who would like to give testimony? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience with relevant evidence and has standing who would like to give testimony? Seeing none, could we have the staff findings and recommendations?
Absolutely. Before we do that, Madam Vice Chairman, if you don't mind, can I ask the applicant a few questions just for clarification purposes?
Yes, you may.
Okay, I'm a top to bottom person, so shingles, correct?
Yes.
Fiberglass asphalt shingles of a dark color palette, right?
Correct.
Okay. And we were going to use hardy plank or wood?
Hardy plank.
Hardy plank, and they're going to be running
Horizontal.
Thank you. Windows, you said 86 the windows?
I was going to put a window in there.
All right. And will it have the shadow bars? The shadow bars?
What are those?
The muntins, the grids?
Oh, yeah, it'll have the grids.
Okay,
Yep.
it'll have the grids. And
Yep.
it will
It'll look like the picture.
Okay. All right. We'll come back to the windows. We're going to have the door just as such with the same hardware, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the foundation's going to be...
I propose cinder block, only because if that is not going to work for you guys, we can use concrete blocks for the bottom of it.
Okay. It's infill construction. You could use materials available at the time of construction, CMUs, we have them. To go back to the windows just really quickly, so you've got the grids with the shadow bars, we simply require that you have them on the exterior and the interior with the shadow in the middle, not the stick-on grills. That's all that we require.
Oh, okay.
And as long as you can accept that condition, I'm groovy with everything else that he's presented.
I'm happy to accept that.
Okay. Is there any testimony from any state, city, or government body? Seeing none, are there any final comments, sir, that you would like to make on your project?
No, ma'am.
None at this time. Members of the commission, what questions might you have at this point or comments?
I just have one question. It's
Yes, ma'am.
Probably out of curiosity. What is the shed sitting on now?
It's sitting on concrete blocks.
Okay.
They're basically they almost look like pavers.
Mm-hmm.
So I when I looked under the shed, which is kind of hard, but that's what's there now. I mean, if you would like us to use those, I'd be happy to use those. We had kind of thought with the recent hurricane that we might elevate it just a little bit to, make for sure if we have another tragic event that there is some. Our house did not suffer great flooding. Our basement got water, but the outside just had some water outside. And so we figure if we elevate it just a little bit, that'll be enough to keep the shed from getting wet.
Morgan, do you have any other recommendations from?
I do. I will run down these very quickly. So we have demolition 641. This is not contributing structure. We have accessory structures 261 and 262. We have contemporary materials 551, 552, 556, 553. We have paint 542, 543. I also have windows, doors 433. Statements of reason based on the information contained in the application and staff's judgment are: the proposed project is located within the tertiary area of visual concern. The proposed materials and design that we discussed are appropriate. The proposed project is not incongruous with the guidelines. Staff recommends the commission approve the application for major exterior alterations at this time, citing the aforementioned guidelines with the condition that the applicant utilize either true divided light or simulated divided lights for the windows, with the grills, the muntins on the exterior and interior and exterior, and the shadow bars in the middle, and that is citing guideline 433 that we previously discussed.
And what about that the boards need to run?
And the condition that the boards must run horizontally, not
The
vertically.
ones on our house right now are horizontal, and we intended to match that look.
All right.
Okay.
And those are my recommendations with conditions.
And it will be painted to match our house as well, yes.
Yeah,
We're gonna match, we're gonna color match the house.
Okay.
The window that's there will be painted, the windows of our house are just off by one shade of gray in accordance with the historic, look of the time, and so we're gonna paint the shed to look very similar.
We thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Fortunately for you, we don't control color. One of the few.
Okay, are there any other questions by any of the commissioners? Okay, so can I call for a motion to approve this COA?
Madam Chairman, I move that we find the application for a certificate of appropriateness for 419 Metcalf Street to be not incongruous with New Bern's Code of Ordinance sections 15-411 to 15-429 and New Bern's Historic District guidelines based on the following specific guidelines and findings of fact. Applicable guidelines: demolition 6.4.1, accessory structures 2.6.1, 2.6.2, contemporary materials 5.5.1, 5.5.2, 5.5.5, and 5.5.6, paint 5.4.2 and 5.4.3, and windows and doors 4.3.3. Findings of fact: the proposed project is located in the tertiary ABC. The proposed materials and design are appropriate. The proposed project is not incongruous with guidelines. I'd like to attach the following conditions. And Morgan, would you help me with the wording on the windows?
Certainly, I will say that the conditions are that the windows must follow guideline 433.
Okay, windows must follow guideline 433.
Yes. And that the exterior hardy plank must run horizontally.
Correct, agreed.
Okay, a motion has been made to approve the COA. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Are all members of the commission sure what the motion is? Any questions? Can I call for a vote for the motion? All of those who are in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed? None. So the motion is passed. Do I have a motion to issue a COA?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. So, everyone, can we vote for the approval of the COA? All in favor? Aye. All those opposed? None? So the COA is approved.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, President.
Thank you very much.
You've been great. All right, everyone. Moving on to our last item. So we're switching gears for a moment here. I am requesting that you all place 244 Middle Street, also known as the former Surf, Wind, and Fire location, on the prevention of demolition by neglect list. I've been fairly lenient after the storm with prevention of demolition by neglect because I understand that everybody is going through some very difficult times right now. However, this is something that critically needs to be addressed. As you're aware, the roof caved in. It's been boarded up. Boarded up windows, boarded up storefronts are not permitted per demolition by neglect ordinance. This is in the C3. I have tried to make contact with the property owner, and I gave them the 30 days to make contact with me. They failed to do so. It is time to place on the demolition by neglect list. I would provide interior photos, however, it is not safe to enter that building. I think that you all are very familiar with the structure. I don't really think that photographs are needed. but I'm asking that you please petition the chief building inspector to place it on the demolition by neglect list and to begin the investigation of demolition by neglect.
So move.
May we ask questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Morgan, on that roof, is that part of the building actually being used?
I am not certain if the second floor was being utilized. I am not certain of that, but it has fallen completely into the top floor, and now rain is just seeping all the way down, and it's going to cause even more damage. Not certain if it's being used, but it's not going to get any better. In fact, I'm very worried about this building that it could be condemnable.
If I remember correctly, the owners did petition the city to not condemn the building because they said they believed it was repairable.
It is repairable. He is in the process with minimum housing. So minimum housing cited him first. He went through that 30-day time frame. He didn't respond within that required time frame that I am aware of. Then I sent the 30-day demolition by neglect nice letter to get in contact with me in 30 days. They did not do so. They are currently working with the chief building inspector to make some interior changes to stabilize the building, but exterior has not been noted yet, and this is the only way that I can force the hand, and that's why I'm asking you to place this on the list.
So do you want what us to do is vote to do that?
Yes, I need a motion to recommend that 244 Middle Street, the former Surf, Wind and Fire, be placed on the demolition by neglect list, and that we petition the chief building inspector to investigate.
Can we have a member who agrees to that motion?
We have a motion.
So move.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. There are none, so the motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay?
With regard to prevention of demolition by neglect, have you had contact with Cynthia? 214 Pollock Street?
That's on my list. She is currently accruing fines via minimum housing. I checked up on that earlier this week. She is accruing fines of minimum housing. I'm going to send the nice letter. I'm not sure what her situation is currently.
I don't know either. I know that the person who she had employed to do a lot of the renovation said that the floors now upstairs and downstairs are unsalvageable because of the weather getting into the building.
I'm very concerned that may be one that we lose.
Yeah, me too.
And it very well may happen. The nice letter will go out, giving her 30 days to make the request. That's just so much of a bill for her to fix in 30 days. I deem that to be impossible, but we'll work with her.
Okay.
All right.
Are there any general
I just have another
Oh,
question.
sorry.
Are we just talking about the building is like 3 sections?
Yes, sir.
Are we just talking about the section on the left?
That is correct. Yes, sir. We're just talking about the section on the left.
Yeah.
To my immediate knowledge, there is nothing of worth to note on the middle and the far right section. If there is, I would love for someone to make me aware of it. I will do another staff evaluation of the exterior. If I find anything, I'll bring it back to you all, and we can do it for the other 2 sections if needed. Okay.
All right. There's very little public left, but do the people that are making up our public this evening, do you all have any comments that you'd like to make? Okay, there are no public comments. Is there any old business that we need to go over, Morgan?
No, ma'am.
Okay, is there any new business?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? So let us vote. All those who are in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those who are opposed say nay. Okay, so we are now adjourned.